the country will flourish.
But we're far away from that, and you know that that cannot happen in the immediate.
Then let us stop this jamboree, and then make sure that we live and die anytime there's election. There has to be a stop. At one point or the other, somebody must say enough. And it must be. How many volumes of reports and so have we had in the National Archives? And some of them that are not even accounted for.
So, got some questions.
Yes.
Mark,
some people will say, first of all, one, at what cost is that going to be? You've given the examples of the bank, but somehow the banks are able to recoup their own investments into the processes of security. At what cost are we going to do that? That's one. And two, learning from the experiences of other countries. Kenya, for instance, in 2013 or 2012, decided to implement this electronic voting system. They found out much later that it was no guarantee for electoral success. That's on the one hand. And even in the United States, where we think that the process is transparent, we've heard only in recent times the current president saying that the system is sometimes rigged. How do we know that this electronic voting system is going to be our be-all solution to the issues that we currently face?
Very well. These are all fears that are marginal. What about the big aspects of the successes recorded? If you think through a process and configure it during the programming process, that's what technology is about. When the first aviation, when the aviation industry had the first flight, it wasn't like the one that we have today. Yeah? The first car that was produced didn't have pneumatic transmission systems for brake, where you now even talk about ABS and all that. Yet they had braking system, even if it was the cranking type and killed some people, even when the car stopped, abruptly. The point is that if you sit down, that's where the cerebral content comes in. And when you depersonalize a process, it removes corruption. This TSA they are talking about is a technology on its own. Whether it is by remitter or by whatever platform, the important thing is that you say, let us have a system whereby we collect money and nobody has access to it in a dubious way. Then you begin to think on how to do it. Think through the processes, how these people have been beating the process up till now. So what do we do? That's what technology does. So I think we cannot begin to reference those ones that have failed. We should look at the sunny side of life. Otherwise, those people that we did our primary schools with, some of them have fallen by the wayside. They couldn't pass their school cert. It's not that you are enemy to them, but I'm not sure that they are the ones that you consider your friends today, because you're always looking for tomorrow. A.C. Catherine said, I want to live, I'm interested in tomorrow because that's where I want to live. So the point is that if we want to live in a society where good governance will be delivered effortlessly, these things are very simple. Everything under the sun is simple, but thinking makes it complex. And because of all the shenanigans, people looking for shortcuts and so on, and there is no supervening law, enforceable supervening law that put people in their place. If you say come to meeting, some people will come with by air and beat the time when they say everybody should ride bicycle. If you come to that meeting and you are not able to sift those who came by air and stop them from coming, everybody will be in the meeting talking. So the point is that in this country, we must begin to look at how to put a stop at all this nonsense.
Okay.
Dr. Naji, I'm going to crave your indulgence to read just a small quote here from somebody who wrote, she says, after the 2007 elections and ensuing chaos, we implemented what we thought was a state-of-the-art and tamper-proof electronic voting system for 2013. This is about the Kenyan experience. And she said results will be transmitted on a real-time basis through text messages via a server consolidating over 33,000 centers. But for a system that was considered infallible, the very aspects we thought tamper-proof broke down as soon as they were put to the test. She continues, the server became overloaded, biometric kits entrusted with scanning thumbprint broke down, election operators' PIN numbers and passwords were forgotten. You have to ask the question, can we doesn't this also, at the end of the day, boil down to the people who are still going to operate the system? How do we know that, we can, isn't that where the question is, can we trust the people who are to operate this particular system, not to manipulate it?
Well, the aviation industry I have made reference to, there have been some crashes. There will continue to be some crashes. Some of them are attributed to human error. Some of them are attributed to equipment fault. But somebody must supervise the equipment and ensure, which is what they do, that before there is a flight, there will be some checks. The same thing, we have known some of these problems now from the experience of those who have passed through. That, I don't know the kind of thinking that went through in their own. If they thought very well, maybe it would have been better. But having seen that they failed in this area, are we going to now start from where they stopped? We have to look something beyond and make sure that the server we are going to deploy, after all, when you talk about CCTV in all the developed countries, have you heard about crashing? There are different technologies that go beyond that. Some of them are even now using the internet. So that is an attempt to reduce crashing. Crashing means that you have a device that has capacity. You overload it, then it crashes. Even as a human being, if you give me a load about maybe 500 kilogram of something, I might begin to quake, even if I'm a weightlifter. You understand? So what you do is that you look at the system, what is capable of being deployed for what purpose. You don't come for national election of maybe, let's say, 80 million people. Then you get a new generation banks kind of hard disk, then deploy it. It's a matter of when you feed it with certain this thing, and the thing will just crash. So we should even learn from the Kenyan experience. And delivery, it takes one man to bring down a system. You heard how Donald Trump was always talking about rig. It turned out that he was the one that succeeded. The rigging has now stopped. And it has been clearly stated that there was no rigging.
Speaking about which, I remember when Professor Jega was before the Senate, they were asking him questions about the electronic voting, the card reader system. And they did ask him as well that were those card readers going to be admissible in court? Is it permitted in our laws? And he says no, it's just for the pre-voting system accreditation and the likes. And I thought, if at that point they knew that it wasn't admitted in the laws, in the courts, couldn't we have taken it a step further? Does that tell us something about whether or not we will be willing to take it further?
That is the point I'm making. Those who profit from the old order will not want a new order that will either emasculate them or prevent them from continuing from the way that the law must go pari passu with technology. Like before 2011, there was no admissibility for electronic evidence. But the reality is that we cannot continue to live in the Stone Age.
We'll
so
take
the
that
Evidence
further.
Act has accommodated that.
We'll speak about that a little more when we return in a moment. Do stay with us.